Hello there, everybody. It is me, No Name Owns of Spore, back with the ruling of the waves. If you hear me like groaning, my back is killing me right now. I don't know why. I might have sat weirdly yesterday or something. I feel like after this relatively shorter episode, I'm gonna have to lay down. I'm not gonna be progressing the turn this episode, but we did just get done with a war with Germany. We won pretty well. Sank some CAs on the last turn, pieced out. We managed to grab Iceland in the peace deal, and then got eight points or eight reparation points, which I believe helped cushion the budget problems that would have inevitably come, and tensions are now low. So the problem is, if I unmothball that, at the present moment we are losing 19,000 a month, which is not good. So I'm gonna mothball Bay. I'm gonna reserve all those. We're gonna do the reserve fleet stuff right now. Unfortunately, Rouen has lost 2 knots of speed, so I guess fortunately she can be mothballed. The ship's in right now in southern Africa. Move ships in area, so we want everything which isn't the Corvette. Move to the Mediterranean. So we'll get those guys into the Mediterranean. Victor Hugo can actually no, she can't be mothballed because she's in Southern Africa. We can mothball the damaged ships, and then those are elite crews, but I might actually keep the elite crews on those 3 active for the moment. I think that makes sense. And then mothball any ship that's damaged, or any ship that's lost like 2 knots of speed. Okay, any of these that are like, yeah, those are trade protection ships. These are all trade protection ships. Mothball them. Research, I'm gonna bring this up back to like 12, just to kind of see what sort of money we're dealing with there. Reserve those destroyers. We need to save as much money here as possible. Don't repair those 2 because it'll keep their quality good. So with these, no, these were all trade protection ships, so they can all be mothballed. These can also be mothballed. Oh god, I kind of want to keep the elite crews on those carriers. But I think I have to reserve them to save money at this point, yeah. Okay, so the ships are going to move back up. Are there any cruisers I can easily mothball? Like, I guess the Eiley and De Gaulle Trois class. I might keep these. That's a lot of money to spend to keep those elite crews up. Actually, how much is that costing? So that's about doubling it. So let's say 300 times 5. So that would be about 1,500. Yeah, no, I don't think that's worth it. I would love to keep the elite crews. I'll keep it on Mistral. How about that? Mistral gets her elite crew. It's costing a lot more because of the planes, and I am going to pull a lot of the planes off. Submarine-wise, I kind of feel like these oldest 3 submarines, here, yeah, from like 1930 should probably be scrapped. Maybe these coastals from 30. You know, I'm gonna scrap the coastal from 36. I'm gonna keep the 2 coastals from 39. And save a little bit of money, and then I can go to air groups and just try to reserve all the air bases. Save just a little bit of funds. You know, with the war concluded and very much won. So, with that all being said, with that all now being done, research I put it 12%. I will have to start assembling or start building more of these ships. So I think I do want to resume construction on at least a lot of those. I'm gonna halt it on the last 4, but I'm gonna order construction resumed on that bunch and that ship, which is gonna cost us a lot. But I think that I can take this out of our naval aircraft. I can probably still get a little bit more out of maintenance in a couple months anyway when stuff gets back to where it should be. A couple commanders that need replacement. I can probably mothball Paris. Yeah. France is probably getting very close to the point of being able to be mothballed. Victor Hugo will get mothballed. Yeah, those are mothballed. Anything else that is like slower than it needs to be, or way slower. Guess these. Wait, no, those are all 32 knot ships. It would be that singular Protect class that could get mothballed. I guess the Tempete class can be mothballed. These are ASW destroyers. Save a little bit more money. Yeah, this is just the post-war management side of things. And once I'm done with this, for the aircraft stuff, that I'm gonna start clearing out a lot of the air squadrons on my own time. That's gonna be done off episode, which is why this episode's not lasting that long. But I did want to take a look at what the squadrons did. Let's check. Okay, so we got de Goitois needs a commander. And I think we just grab a rando for de Goitois. Any other ships down there need a commander? Nope. So that means Normandy needs a new commander, which we have an above average available. We do not have any brilliance available, so we will take an above average then. CV Hamelin will now be in charge of the battleship Normandy. So there we go. There we go. I did want to take a look at the air groups right now, and then we'll get to the main point. So score-wise, Jaffre and Lafayette squadrons were not involved. Pinlevy, Rochambeau's I don't think really involved either. The Barracudas on I don't know if that they would have had that the entire time, but Flotilla 55F got 3 kills. Flotilla 11F also got 3 kills on Aramanches. 52 and 53F on Yon got 2 and 4 kills. Hold on, what was that on? Yeah, 55. Okay, so 52 and 53 got 2 and 4 kills respectively. Yeah, the Jets on Le Havre squadron got 6 kills. Foudre's Heavy Jets got 3, and then those 2 got 5. I don't think it shows missile hits here. Yeah, 4 kills for them, 5 for them, 3 for them on Sirocco. yeah, well, 31 and 35 got 7 kills each, and 40F got 3. Command didn't test. I don't know why that. Oh yeah, that lead squad probably did a lot of damage, but wow, that flotilla got 36 or not, or 36F got 8 kills. That one got 6. That one got 4. Mistral's groups. Oh yeah, we can see the bombs from that jet attack squadron on the airfield at Iceland. 6, 4, and 5 kills for these heavy jets on a Mistral. And Tenair's got a little bit of kills towards the end of the war. I don't think any of the land-based squadrons did all that much. And then yeah, none of the unassigned backup squadrons in reserve, which a lot of those are probably gonna get disbanded here to save on aircraft maintenance. Yeah, so the plan for continuation on heavy jet fighter is in progress, by the way, so we're gonna get that at some point soon. We're gonna get a new helicopter in service soon. But the plan for the squadrons is a lot of the squadrons I currently have are going to get disbanded. I want to save money with that. Current monthly balance is negative 10,000, so I need to cut naval aircraft maintenance down by at least half, probably more, which I think I can do in order to afford my current navy. That's going to be that's going to be a big part of the plan, is getting rid of a lot of the aircraft squadrons I currently have, moving a lot into reserve, just really reducing the aircraft maintenance budget. I would like to bring down that and I can bring down that maintenance budget a little bit more too. But yeah, I'm going to be doing that off stream. I'm going to be disbanding the air groups off stream. There was something else I wanted to say. Does Mistral have... Yeah, Mistral does have a medium SAM, so she can remain in service. But one thing I want to do with air groups in the unassigned pool was... one of my thought process is, let's say I put like 4 or 5 jet attack squadrons in the unassigned pool of 100 planes each. Well, right now, in terms of jet attackers, we have 4 in service. The Espadon, or the Leo 334 Espadon, the F359 Bal Buzzard, and then the Curtis Block Barrier, and the Republic Duotine Seamew. And if we look at the number of these that are in service, we're expecting 171 Espadons in service. We just can't get that. Bal Buzzards, we need 85. We currently have 75 in service. Barriers, we only have, we need 24 of them in service, and we do have a few on the stock, and then Seamew is 43 out of 50. So we're not producing enough of... I mean, we have some jet attackers, we just don't quite have enough. But one thought that is striking me is, let's say we have 100 jet aircraft, or let's say we have squadrons consisting of 5 squadrons of 20 in reserve, so 100 jet attacker aircraft in the pool. With the air groups, I can change the aircraft type and toggle auto upgrade. So my thought process is, let's say I have 5 of these in the pool, 100 aircraft or 100 aircraft in the pool. Initially, well, okay, we have over 100 Espadons, so I don't change anything with that. The Espadon remains... None of them get assigned to Espadons at any point, but, we assign them all to Bal Buzzards initially, and, we produce enough Bal Buzzards to get up to 100. Then I assign them all to Barriers, and we produce enough Barriers until we hit 100 and have some on stock, and then I switch them all over to Seamews, and we produce enough of those until we get enough stock. And then suddenly, between, the 4 jet attacker types, I have 400 aircraft. And each new type of jet attacker I get, an extra 100 of them, including each new, variant. If these guys develop a B or a C variant or something, well, I get that as well. And I can probably do the same with the heavy jet fighters, too. Just make sure that I have enough of these on stock for the future. basically. And yeah, that is my current plan. I would probably not do that for the other aircraft types. I don't think that's particularly critical for the other aircraft types, but I want to have enough of those aircraft on stock in the future that I don't have to worry. I don't really have to worry about anything. Let me check if anyone in fleet organization got promoted. 7th light cruiser needs a commander, actually, real quickly. Actually, no. Ability. By ability. So we have a couple above average contra admirals. Brilliants are all assigned. I mean, we're at peace, so I don't really want the above averages to keep getting promoted, so I think we're gonna do that guy. And then we got 14th Coastal, which doesn't have ships in it, so we can't assign anyone there. Yeah, that is this turn. Outside of, playing around with the air groups. But we do have something very important to still talk about. And I'll probably be swapping between a few screens here. As we talk about this, and specifically the Almanac. I'm going to bring up the Almanac before swapping over to the other screen. Sorry. So, that is not what I intended to do. That was my other monitor with Discord on it. Sorry. I guess you get to see a little bit of the dry dock conversation. I don't think, yeah, that's not that critical. This is where I wanted to go. French Naval Budget Plan, January of 1958. War with Germany has concluded and tensions are low. We need to define funding priorities for new ship construction. During this interim peacetime, which usually lasts about 5-6 years, I'll assume about 6 years, what should my primary focus be on? Presumably for the next war, which will either be the last or the second last war of the campaign, probably. Missile age is upon us. It is truly upon us, as demonstrated by the last conflict, where missiles were very heavily used, and refitting existing ships. If I go back to this screen, such as Toulouse, Strasbourg, for example, Paris Triumphant. The Eiley, Château-Nuts, Emile Bertins, maybe even the Dugoitois to a lesser extent. Refitting those ships remains a high priority for me. Sorry for that. That was Rule the Waves being Rule the Waves. You couldn't even see what was on the Rule the Waves screen as I pulled it up. But yeah. There's still a number of older vessels that still need to be rebuilt into missile ships. And, a lot of vessels which still need SAMs attached to them. But yeah, missile age is here. We've absolutely demonstrated that with the previous conflict. And updating ships for that remains a priority. Naturally, I still will need to build new supercarriers during this time. At the present moment, Rhone is under construction, and we will probably, build a successor for her at some point as well. Like, when Rhone commissions, it will probably be a new supercarrier laid down. And of course, missile destroyers and cruisers will still need to be built. Like, supercarriers and escorts will still be built, but in terms of what my main focus is on, budget-wise, during this period, I still need to decide what those priorities specifically are. Which direction do I really want to take the fleet in? Obviously, I still do need balance to the fleet, but what do I prioritize a little bit heavier? So aside from that, other nations are scrapping their battleships and battlecruisers. So the battleship age is kind of dying. With only our dear ally, the U.S.'s fleet, larger than ours. If I go back to Rule the Waves, you can see U.S. is operating 6 battleships and 15 battlecruisers to our 10 and 9. So they have 21, we have 19, and I think tonnage-wise, their battle cruisers, yeah, I think tonnage-wise they do outnumber us too, but they're our ally. And Britain and Japan are potential challengers here, or remain potential challengers here. If we look at Japan, that's mostly because they have the 70,000 ton, 17-inch armed dreadnoughts. They still have a decent or decently sized battlecruiser fleet, even if it is aging. Um, Britain has a dreadnought, which is, that's a pretty strong ship, and then a lot of these battle cruisers. But they were building some in the 50s, so they still have some more modern battle cruisers. I don't know how long Indomitable's going to survive for, though. Royal Oak's probably on our way out very, very soon, I would imagine. Well, that is a decent ship to keep versus Caesar. Caesar's probably much better to scrap than Royal Oak, in my opinion. Actually, Invincible's pretty good. But yeah, Britain and Japan are kind of like the two challengers right now. We certainly have an advantage against both of them, but they do have some pretty strong ships. Germany has been largely kicked out. They got one battleship left. Russia has or Italy has none anymore. Austria only has a small number of battle cruisers remaining. Small battle cruisers remaining. Russia still has like one ship that's dangerous, but I guess a couple ships that are dangerous, but they're on the way out. Spain's battle cruisers are pretty small. So battleship wise, at the moment, we have basically a massive lead, but a lot of our ships are older. I guess Devastation is the most recent one, completed in 48, but before that, Alsace was 40, and outside of that, we really haven't been building. We haven't built stuff from that, or from like the battleship battle cruiser class since our most recent battle cruiser is 1921, commissioned with Toulouse. Even if a lot of these ships still remain relevant in some way. But yeah, battleship era is kind of on its way out. The missile era is in. The carrier and missile era is in. So there are 4 possible paths of construction here, and this kind of feels like I'll there's kind of like part of my budget, which is I need escorts, I need the occasional super carrier, but then there's kind of a second part of the budget, which is like, well, what do I want to do with that? And then that first part's like I need refits. Maybe like that second part's like a third of the budget. I don't know, like half or a third of the construction budget. So, idea number 1. I go with the super carrier focus. So super carriers like Mistral and Tonnerre are in vogue right now. They are the strongest fleet assets at the moment. Other navies are building them. Our CV fleet is currently behind America's and Japan's. We do have a stronger CV fleet than every other nation, but a lot of the other nations do still have large and very, very substantial carrier fleets. We also have a very small CVL fleet compared to the other nations, and our CVL fleet isn't like particularly in service. If you want to have a quick look here at the CVs in service and the tonnage, Japan and America have more, but even then other nations are still competitive, and if you're factoring in the CVLs especially. So yeah, so this focus would be on building super carriers. This would probably be a case where there's roughly 2 super carriers under construction at the same time continuously, outside of maybe like this initial period. Or something where I build super carriers in classes of 2. So like, Toulouse, these would be roughly like Toulouse or Rhone size, not Toulouse, Tonnerre or Rhone sized super carriers. Maybe a little smaller if I go unarmored and aim for 100 planes. The concern with this is during wartime, super carriers are operationally very expensive, and the amount you can get in battle is amount of aircraft carriers you can get in battle is a little bit hard capped. Right now, I would say we have 6 super carriers, and 6 light carriers. Well, not 6 light carriers. We have 3 like proper light carriers. We have like 6 medium carriers and 6 proper like super carriers. And the other concern is I might struggle to produce enough jets to equip a much larger carrier fleet, and that might force the sidelining of smaller carriers. I do have that jet attacker plan, but I don't know if that'll be enough or not. Especially given how much we bleed jet attackers in battle. And you can see, a little rough drawing of one. So these would be about 60 to 70,000 ton ships. Right now our dock says 67,000 tons, so right around there. Maybe you could go into like the upper 50,000s. About 100 planes on board and equipped with, I said medium SAMs. I could see heavy SAMs being on one of these, but, equipped with SAM systems as well for defense. So that is priority number 1, is basically build more of these. Build more Tonnerres. Build more Roans. Yeah. So, that's option number 1. Option number 2 is I very, very heavily focus on the missile destroyers, or the guided missile destroyers. They are the cheapest, most cost-effective missile ships to purchase at the moment. I can get large numbers of them. Other navies have large, modern fleets. A lot of my fleet of missile destroyers is outdated ships that have been rebuilt to them. Of course, this isn't just the case where I'm just going to be building missile destroyers. This strategy would also involve guided missile cruisers, likely light cruisers, and corvettes, which either are an option or about to become an option. Concern is that these ships are kind of expendable, and they're not going to be useful after that, first or second salvo, except as anti-aircraft vehicles, because in order to get a missile destroyer, you have to cap the gun and torpedo armament pretty hard. But right now, the world is very, very much pivoting this way in terms of the other nations. If we go down to destroyers, we do have a lead in destroyers, but a lot of those are coastal destroyers. We don't have a lead in destroyer tonnage compared to, like, the U.S. And if you're looking at, American destroyers, where do they start? A lot of the older American destroyers don't have missiles, but actually, yeah, okay. Right here, we start having missiles. America's missile destroyer fleet actually isn't as large as I thought it was going to be. Yeah, Japan's is getting to a decent size. Yeah, Italy's is a decent size now. Felt like a lot of the German destroyers we were encountering had heavy missiles, and yeah, Germany's building, or has a lot of them built, and is building more. Britain, let's check Britain real quickly. Yeah, Britain has a good number, so it doesn't even have that many subs. Interesting. But yeah, missile destroyers are very, very heavily being focused right now by the AI navies, by the other nations, and it might be a good idea to build more of them. Actually, if I go here, we're looking at about 3,000, 3,500 tons, 3-inch or 4-inch main armament. Usually 4 heavy anti-surface ship missiles with a reload per tube, and then possibly a medium SAM. It might be possible to go a little bit further than that, but at the moment that might be a little tricky. And then you're probably looking at 3 or 4 torpedo tubes, unlike older ones where you're looking at more 8 torpedo tubes. So if we look at the Tornad class under construction, this is probably a pretty decent representation of that style of ship. Or I believe the more recent destroyers in service, like the Anamites, Glaives, Mogadors, I believe, are like that too. Elefantistiques are not, but a lot of the older ones, like the Cutlass, have been refit with missile tubes. But that's kind of more what we're looking at. Looking at with this design, 30,000, 35,000, or not 30, no, 3,000 or Yeah, 3,000 or 3,500. Sorry, I kind of misspoke there. So that is strategy number 2. Heavy missile destroyer focus, get some missile CLs and missile corvettes in there too. Third strategy is a missile cruiser focus. In this case, we are trying to build larger heavy cruisers and light cruisers that carry a lot more missiles than destroyers and are more useful in gun actions. These are the largest gun-based surface combatants other countries are building, and other countries have a lot of scary ones. If I go back over here and take a look at CA tonnage, Russia's building a lot. You can see we actually have a comparatively small heavy cruiser fleet, and a lot of nations are still assembling some. Light cruiser-wise, there's still a decent amount being built. But if we take a look at some of the heavy cruisers, 12, 10-inch guns with, four missile tubes on them. I don't know if we go America to these, yeah, you're looking at about 12, 10-inch guns with 4 missile tubes right now being pretty standard. 11, 10-inch there. 12, 10-inch. Britain hasn't really gone for that yet, but they're also getting some newer light cruisers with 8 missile tubes on them too. And if I take a look at the light cruisers, Italy's not really building that big of ones. Not really. US either. How's Russia doing in terms of their most modern light cruisers? Still 4. I don't know how Spain's probably going to be weaker, but in this regard. Austria, yeah, still sticking with 8-inch guns, but still having the 4 or heavy anti-surface ship missiles. Germany, yeah, 9 times 8-inch guns and 4 HSSMs, but yeah, okay, Germany's not quite as strong in that regard. I'll actually go back to that screen to talk a little bit more before going back to the representation. But yeah, some of the ones that other countries are getting are quite scary. If we look at, our best ones are probably the Algerie class, which are still good, 12 9-inch guns. They're actually really big, really well armored, so these are still relevant. 4 HSSMs and 1 medium SAM. These are still good ships, but at this point, these were assembled in the mid-40s. These are 12-year-old ships. The other nations are building very, very modern vessels. So that is part of the concern. But yeah, we can carry a lot more missiles if need be. I believe we can get 8 heavy anti-surface ship missiles right now on a ship. And, we could probably get, 1 or 2 reloads per tube. And I guess one other downside, or the downside to this, is that there's already a lot of light cruisers, particularly the Eily, Chasserolna, and Emile Bertin class, that need to be rebuilt. And frankly, the de Goitoise can probably get a rebuild as well. So there's still a number of those that need to be rebuilt to carrying more missiles and carrying more missiles. So the downside to this might be that we could kind of get some of this out of refits anyway, but having another class of heavy cruiser to counter some of the enemy ones coming out, like a repeat Algerie class, but up to the modern standard. I wasn't say 12 years on, it's 14 years later actually. Getting those built, another set of those built 14 years later, might be a good idea. And, that the missile cruisers could definitely be a focus. So I have a little drawing. The drawing's very wide, but it gives a rough idea. So you're looking at about 8 heavy surface ship missiles with a reload, HSAM or MSAM allowed. Heavy SAM and medium SAM both allowed. We'd be looking at 6-inch to 9-inch guns, and 6 to 12, and maybe 5-inch guns on an anti-aircraft cruiser, or even 4 or 3-inch guns on an anti-aircraft cruiser, depending on how that's built, and 9K tons minimum, 9,000 tons minimum the ships would probably be bigger than that. So, when we're talking about building ships here, like the Algeries are a good representation of what we build. The Sfaxes are a good representation. The Glores are a good representation. But we already have a lot of cruisers. We already have a very large light cruiser fleet. Mostly be the heavy cruiser fleet that needs more work if we do go down this route. But some of the light cruisers might actually be a little bit better if you want to spam lots and lots of missiles. So then we have the fourth option, the battle cruiser focus. Right now, there is starting to become a weakness with our opponents because they aren't building battleships and battle cruisers. So my thought is to exploit this weakness that they're creating to build the perfect cruiser and carrier hunters. So this isn't a case where I'm wanting to go, oh, let's build devastation style ships, 64,000 tons, 28 knots, or even something similar to the old battle cruisers where it was still like, a 28 knot target from 1908 to 1921. And you can see, the weakness here. We have the strongest battleship fleet. Well, outside of America, we have the strongest battleship fleet, and Britain and Japan are the only competitors. Germany's weak, Austria's weak, Italy's weak, Spain's weak, Russia's a little lackluster, and frankly, it wouldn't shock me if Britain and Japan become weak soon, and it's really only the U.S. and us, both allied to each other, who actually have strong battleship components for the next, 5-10 years. Maybe like 6-7 years from now. So in this case, the goal would be to aim for a division of about 3 to 4 Alaska-style battlecruisers, also loaded with missiles. So 4 HSSMs, 8 HSSMs, I'm not exactly sure. We probably want 1 or 2 reloads per tube, ideally. But yeah, that would be the goal here. That would be the ideal goal. And the thought process here is we build these ships, which they're not as big. We're talking 6 to 9 12-inch guns capable of about 33 knots, hopefully. 32 maybe. I'd love to do 34. That might be difficult. Get missiles on them and probably equip them with helos. Although I could see doing like 2 separate classes, one which has helicopters and one which has float plane scouts. Because the float plane scout is going to be better at long range detection, but in the future helicopters do get missiles, and that could offer these ships some capability to strike at range. I think the helicopters could also help with targeting a little bit, which might be useful for this type of ship. I mean, maybe that would be something where cruisers, we could build floatplane scout cruisers or something, if we really need it. Yeah, 6 to 9 12-inch guns, so I could see us doing like all forward, triple turrets, 2 of them. For 6 guns, I could see us turning one of those into a quad for 7. I could see, like a Dunkirk-Richelieu layout where we have, 8 guns and 2 quad turrets forward. Or we could go with a, typical Alaska layout and go with an AB, or it would be an ABY triples with 9 12-inch guns. I drew a simplified representation below and, try to get missiles on them. And yeah, and the thought process is if the enemy team, or if the enemy players, enemy AI, the opposing nations are not going to be building battleships, they're not going to be building battle cruisers, they're going to be building large heavy cruisers and light cruisers and aircraft carriers. Thought is, we can send these ships in, we can do a missile salvo with, using them at the enemy cruiser formations, and these ships can counter in gun duels the cruisers after the missiles have all been expended. We can effectively counter the cruisers, and we can chase after enemy aircraft carriers with these things because they would be faster. I was taking a look at the enemy aircraft carriers, say Germany, and you're looking at 30 knots, 29 knots, 30 knots ish. I don't know if we go Italy, yeah, 29, 28 knots ish. Yeah, 30, 29. It looks like typical aircraft carrier is going about 30 knots or a little under 30 knots at the moment. And, cruisers are usually in the 31, 32 range. Maybe 33. There's like some light cruisers. So, one of the deficiencies that happened in that very last battle we fought was I tried to send my battleships to chase after the German aircraft carriers and was not able to meet them. It was a little bit of a wrong direction going and the enemy carrier slipping around, but it was also because I was slowed. Those ships, that squadron was only capable of like 27 knots at most, and because of damage, they'd actually slowed down to 24 knots. But I'm thinking, if we have these we have these fast 33 knot battle cruisers, we might have been able to catch that carrier formation in a gun duel. So there's part of me that wants to focus on getting this plan done, and this probably does require building some cruisers and destroyers as escorts too, dedicated escorts for these ships. But, the main problem is we have they're expensive, they have long build times, they might be obsolete, but, an upside, they could act as a bit of a force multiplier, kind of like the current battleships are doing, but faster, and they would outrun existing 26 to 28 knot battlecruisers and battleships, filling a new role, for us, because, the main fleet right now, or basically all the battleships and battlecruisers I have in service go anywhere from 26 to 28 knots. I guess technically the Paris class could hit 29 back in their heyday. I'm actually looking at it now. The France class goes 25 knots, but you're seeing 27, 28, I guess 29 if those things have up-to-date machinery. 26, 27, 28, 26. So, yeah, that would be the battlecruiser focus plan if I want to go down this route. So, with all of that being stated, with all those plans with all those options in place, I am going to put up a poll. I'm probably going to leave it up for a couple days, which means I'm probably not going to be recording episodes until that poll's done. I might be able to get by with recording one episode before that poll's done. Because once I scrap the aircraft, I might have enough. Well, I might not actually have enough budget to get through the current ship construction until some stuff's complete. So the plan might not actually start until either I can get some more money or like Roan leaves the dockyards. Or, maybe Metz and Trout or some of these escorts, some of these Tornad and Gordon class until some of them are done. That might be when things change. But yeah, I'm gonna have a poll up for the 4 options. I forget if you can do 5 option YouTube polls or not. If you can, I might do like a 5th option of just balanced carrier and escort force, basically. But yeah, that poll's gonna go live at the same time as this video. Go vote on it. Go determine the future of my Navy. I'm going to try to leave it open for a few days, and I'll try to abide by the results of the poll. I'm curious which option you think is best, whether I should focus on building the carrier force up, on building the destroyer force up, on building the cruiser force up, or if that's something where I should get a new squadron of battlecruisers. So, with that, I will see you next time. Thank you, Naval Warfare Simulations, for the free copy of this, and Matrix and Slytherin for the free copy of this, and let me bring this content to you guys, and links to my Discord, as well as an unofficial but officially recognized Rule of Wave server, if you want to join that. I don't have much else to say. See you next time. This episode I was expecting it to be short. It's 44 minutes long. Bye!